Tell me about the time you went to a mafia thing. I've been waiting a year.
Man.
Let me set this up for you, Drew, because I don't know if you knew this. Last year, we come here to House Studios. Thank you, by the way. Not a sponsor, but our sponsor. And we film all week long. And the entire time we're doing this part of Did That Really Happen? I'd be like, Wayne, you got anything? Wayne's like, not really. I mean, you know, I've got, okay, here's a story. There you go. We get to the last day that we were recording. The final minute. Like, it's the 30 seconds where I'm throwing it back to the, you know, we're closing it out. And Wayne goes, I guess there was that one time I walked into this restaurant where the mafia was. And that was it. And Adam, who's sitting over there, you know, switching us and doing all that for us, said, you'll never remember to bring that up again. I made it a point. Every day I have prayed for my memory to not fail so that I could bring this up. You tell us right now what happened.
Well, I had it on my list, so I don't mind telling this time.
I don't care if it was on your list or not. It was going to be told.
So Larry Fife and I, while we're in school, we go to Russia. And the whole trip is just one thing after another to begin with. And the preparation for it, Brother Bland was supposed to be going with us. This was his work, you know, part of his work. And so we were just kind of tagging along and learning about it. Larry was looking at doing some of the work as well. And so he asked me to go with him. I said, all right, let's do this. So they gave us a couple extra days of travel on either side of, you know, our week that we would normally go on campaign. And so we had a couple of extra travel days. Anyway, so we make this plan. Well, then Brother Bland's not able to go. And so it's just me and Larry. And we're like, neither of us have been there or know what to expect or know where we're going, how we're going to really get out of the country, you know, get back home and all these. So all this is going through my mind, you know, all the typical things when you travel, mission, you know. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so we're planning this. Well, I started adding to our travel itinerary in the sense that I had a credit card, and so I stepped up our flights a little bit, made sure we had leg room because Larry's like 7 foot tall almost, you know. And anyway, shout out to the Marine there. But anyway,
well, he's here right now. Larry, come on,
there he is. Come on, absolutely. So anyway, we're you know, trying to book those flights and get everything ready and trying to making sure that, you know, we've got plenty of leg room because those flights get smaller progressively as you go in country, you know, and so, and they get worse, you know, we finally get to, you know, an Aeroflot flight and, you know, and the plane is literally just the paneling as it hits me in the back of the head as we're taking off. You can see water running through the light channels on the top, you know, and it was just kind of over and over. There's just one thing after another. So we get there. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure was when we get to an airport and we're going to take not a taxi, because all I heard the whole time these guys have been going into Russia was how many times the mob who runs the taxi service, you know, takes people outside of town. Oh, man. And, you know, it'd be $500 to get back in town. You just got to carry all this extra cash. And I'm like, worried, you know, in my mind, all these things are just built. It's none of this is good, you know. Why am I going on this trip? And so all this is built up, you know, in my mind. So anyway, so I made sure we have a guy. I have a rented car waiting on us at the airport with a guy with a sign with my name on it, you know, because I don't speak the language. Did
it say Whitey Wayne?
It did not say Whitey Wayne. But anyway, so we get that flight, you know, and we go. So we're in St. Petersburg overnight before we get the next day. So we travel we come in international. And then the next day, we're going to fly a domestic flight, Aeroflot, over to, or about a 4-hour flight north above the Arctic Circle to Murmansk. So we have a half day, you know, one day, and then the next morning till probably about noon, we were supposed to start going to the airport. And I had a car ready for all of that. But in the meantime, you know, we're just sitting there. I also made sure that we stayed at this nice, decent hotel because I just didn't know what to expect there too. So we're staying at the Grand Hotel in St. Petersburg. Anyway, so I paid for that card for a while trying to get it all paid off afterwards. But anyway, so the next morning we get up and, you know, we were fed well, you know, on flights and all that. We were just crashed. So we came in that night, we crashed. Next morning we are starving and ready to eat. And, what do you want to do? Let's find local cuisine. You want to try the local stuff, right? And so we go down, we ask the concierge, where should we go? Mm-hmm. And so she says, well, she starts telling us, she wrote down the name of this place.
McMafia.
McMafia. No golden arches here, right, buddy.
Just a make case.
And so, anyways, we're, she's giving us directions. Well, it's like 30 degrees, and we've got our big heavy coat on, and it's raining. And so we start this trek across town. We decided we wouldn't take a car. It's only supposed to be half mile. Half mile turned into 3 mile walk to get to this place, and we're drenched and we're starving. And now we've burned, more calories, and we're dying. We're ready to eat, and it's pushing 11 o'clock and we know we're going to have to hike it in a hurry to get back, and, anyways, and we don't really know where we are. So we're just guessing at this point. We're trying to find this place, can't find it. Well, all of a sudden we, finally we turned a corner. There it is. And it's kind of one of those little, stone front places, and you just kind of step down into a porch and then you walk in the front door.
First time.
And so walk in the front door, open it up, and I see, a couple of chairs and tables where people are eating and everything. Everything seems fine. This young lady walks out the from the back and everything, and she, of course, speaking in Russian, and I said English, and about that time, like the whole place went silent, turned, and it's like, and it's like. It was just it was just so awkward, it was like everybody turned and looked, and it was like, and I wasn't loud or anything like that, it was like English, we want to eat, food, and she says like this, and she just puts her finger up and she walks away, and I'm like, oh, man. I'm like looking back at Larry, I'm going,
this isn't good.
Hey man, this can't be good. And anyway, this guy comes at a sprint from the back, coming at us, and I'm already kind of
1 foot out the door.
Well, I'm on the defense, I'm not sure if he's going to run through me or what, so anyway, so we're just kind of on the ready. And several things had already happened on this walk. We thought we were being followed one time, and just it's just stuff that you get paranoid. Things are happening around you. Where we are. But anyway, so we're standing there, and he's come running around the corner at us, and he's like stops like right here. He says, "We're closed," and he's like almost shoving me out the door.
And you're like, "You're clearly not. Look at all these people eating."
I'm like, "Well, I did." Wayne kicked in and shouldn't have, and I'm like, well, and I'm like, look, there's clearly you're open. I'm like looking at it,
like you're calling your shot like Babe Ruth.
He's like, no, he's like, leave. I'm like, okay. I'm like, then it registered what was happening, and I'm like looking around, and nobody has taken their eyes off us yet. I mean, the whole place is just dead eyes. And so we stepped back out the door, and then we proceeded to go to McDonald's.
Nice.
And then
McMafia.
and then hit Baskin Robbins right after that. Man. Those are 2 places we recognized on the main strip. That was like almost next to the Grand Hotel. That's where we should have went to begin with.
Yeah.
And 4 hours later, we didn't know, but it was awful. I mean, it was it's like once we stepped out and the adrenaline finally shut back down, I was shaking. I was like, I realized what I had just witnessed. I mean, it was clear. This was not a normal. No. This was a sit down place. Okay. And it was crazy, man. And I was just shocked. And then you talking about the paranoia leaving the place. Cause I knew then we're being followed.
You got eyes on you now.
Yeah. And so I'm like, we're not getting in any cab at this point ever again, maybe ever again. Maybe even when we get back to America, we're not getting into a cab. If we ever get out of this country. And this was the start of that trip, of almost 2 weeks. And so it was wild.
Wow.
But so we get on the flight, a couple hours later or whatever, and it's literally and nobody on that flight speaks English. And so it was just a weird
We're
thing.
closed.
So we're closed and leaving. So 2 weeks later, we're flying Aeroflot to get back out, and I didn't think we were going to get out of the country. We immediately transitioned straight over to the international side. They took us in a shuttle, got us right over to our flight, and we're sitting there, and I've got my bags, and we had weighed everything. You're meticulous. I'm not going to pay extra. And all this, and I paid up front for all the baggage. I already had it on the card.
Smart.
Paid for everything up front. And so we're checking out, and she's like, well, there's this big scale. It looks like you're in a feed store or something like that, and you're like setting your stuff up. It's like literally one of these old timey scales,
Man.
and so put bags up there, all of them, we had 2 bags each, and they're under 50 pounds each. We made sure whatever we took back, and so we're putting everything on the scale, and she's like, okay, that'll be $400. I'm like, no, ma'am.
No way.
I have already paid. And so I pulled out my receipt, and I'm showing her. I'm like, I'm at the window going like this right here.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, $400. I said, no, ma'am. And I'm like,
Yeah.
not getting that she's
No
trying
wonder
to
you didn't get shot.
shake me down, or whatever.
Yeah.
Wayne's kicked in again. I'm
Yeah.
just focused on getting out of this place, And but anyway, so she's like, okay, just come around. And so they, they're in the airport. There are literally AKs everywhere. I mean, it's, there's guards everywhere, so we're being escorted around to a back desk area. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to watch the bags the whole time, Well, somebody did come grab our bags, and he was meeting us around there. And so we're at this now another counter, and we're sitting in the back, and this guy comes out, and he says to put your bags on the flight. I said, well, man, I already paid, and everything. He says, yeah, but you're gonna have to pay for these to get them out of the country. I said, okay, well, what's that going to cost me? He said, and he darts in the back. This other guy comes out to the front desk, and he's like, $200 a piece. I said, a piece? Well, she just said there's $400. That's $100 a piece. You just went up,
Yeah.
And anyway,
You said no.
I said,
You just had no chill or gauging the atmosphere.
and Larry's like, Larry, I'm expecting him to be the one losing
Yeah.
it and everything, but I am the one's about to lose it, And I'm like, no, look, I said, I'll give you $200 to put those bags on that plane, and I could see out the back. And he's like, whoa. He takes off. Comes a third guy comes out to the desk,
$500 a piece.
and he says, okay, $200. I said, okay, and I literally am grabbing $200. He said, whoa. He says, go down to the other end. So I slide down 20 feet to the end of the counter, and there's an envelope down on the end. He's like, I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I'm like putting the money in there. He said,
And he said,
So
congratulations, you just adopted this 18-year-old boy from Russia. He's going home with you now.
Put him in the bag.
Yeah, put him in a body bag.
slide the envelope across the counter, kind of this whole weird thing
That's
and
not
everything.
weird.
He's like, okay, you're good. I'm like, can we get on the plane then? And can I watch my bags go on the plane? He says, we got you. He says, we're loading them up already. I'm like,
With drugs.
That's dirty.
Get back in the United States.
I said, that's messed up. He says, I know.
Wow.
And then he took off.
And the fourth guy came?
And so the door's wide open in the back, I'm like looking at the back. I can see the plane. It's a small plane out there, whatever. And so I can see the plane. I can see they're already taking bags out and everything. So I see these 4 guys standing around in the back, and they're out there like handing the money out. I'm like, this is a full shakedown, man. And thankfully, Brother Bland and others had told us, look, and Cliff Lyons, who was there and everything, he was like, it's probably going to cost you to get out of here. So in my mind, I already knew this is probably going to happen.
Yeah.
But after 2 weeks of being paranoid,
You're
being
ready
in
to
this
get
country,
home.
I was ready to get home, and I was paranoid, and I was already feisty. and Larry, who's normally very feisty, he was as chill as could be. He's like, it's just watching the show, you know.
It should have been a clue. I mean, that really should have been.
Wow.
Well, that was worth the wait.
I'm glad.
That's a whole extra season right there.
You know? Well, let's move to our guest.
Man, I can't top that one.
We will. Don't worry. We'll find a way.
All right.
Those of you that are watching the program have noticed that we've got some donuts in front of us, and Krispy Kreme did not sponsor this episode. Wouldn't that be kind of crazy though if they would have?
That'd be great.
But Drew has a doppelganger, and I first found this guy in 2012 when he wrote a song where he pointed out that he was the baddest of them all. And I want to just read some of the lyrics to you
Not good.
and just ask what it was like to have accomplished these things. Drew, here we go, okay?
I'm nervous.
If you ain't about money, then I don't mess with y'all.
That's what the Russians told Wayne.
Y'all think I don't get girls? Yeah, you think I don't get girls because I ain't very tall? Is that true? Was it hard to win Brittany's heart over?
I've got one. That's all that matters. Worked out.
Let's see. I could beat you up even if you had 1,000 knives. Even if you had infinity knives, I would punch you up into the air like a kite. I bet you sleep with a nightlight because you're scared of the dark. I bet I got more money than Jay-Z. Compared to me, Jay-Z is lazy.
That's a false statement.
Drew, what were you thinking when you wrote these lyrics?
It's obviously not me. Okay.
I might look small, but I'm not. I don't care if you're big. I'll fight you a lot. That was Wayne in Russia.
That's right.
So here's the next part of this, and then I want to, give you a chance to tell your version of this.
Oh, great.
I have 400 cars. I have 400 scars and 400 guitars. I have 400 houses. I have 400 mouses and 400 houses. Bet you I can dance better than you. I bet you don't know 2 + 2. It's 4. It's 4. Now go and shut the door, because nobody wants to see your face no more. I'm tough as nails. You're slower than a snail. I beat up every single person in jail. That is the great.
I can affirm that I've never done any of that.
I fought 2 lions and won, and I don't even carry a gun. So Drew, tell them your side of this, and then I'll give them the rest of that.
I have no side.
You do have a side because this happened to you. The name of the show is Did That Really Happen?
No, it did not really happen.
This did happen to you with us, because I have not let this go. It's been 8 years since we met. And literally, it's been 8 years from the first conversation we ever had that I have called you Krispy Kreme.
Yes.
So tell them about that experience and what it was like to fight every single person in jail.
I've never been to jail. Okay. I haven't fought anybody.
The lyrics say otherwise.
That did not really happen. None of that really happened. I can't help that I look like that guy.
There's so much more to this story.
There is not. There's really not.
Okay,
It's
fine.
the
I'll
end
tell
of
it if you're not going to. Fine. Drew walks into class one day, and I look at him, and I'm like, whoa. He looks a lot like the Krispy Kreme guy to me, because Drew didn't have a beard back then. And so let me make sure to show you guys the latest image of Drew that makes me feel like it's him. And why I would kind of feel like that might be Drew. You can kind of see it, can't you?
I can see.
I mean,
see that.
you can't deny that looks a little like you, buddy. I mean, and you got all these wonderful songs that you've written.
Wonderful, yeah.
Jay-Z's lazy compared to you. And so I've never let Drew live it down. And
here we are.
2 years ago, when I came up to Valdosta and stayed in the area and we did some work together, I left my speaker in the hotel bathroom there in my room, and I was driving home. It wasn't on purpose, trust me. That thing was not left on purpose. I just was really glad that it got left there. But as I'm driving home, I'm 2 hours away from Valdosta. I was like, I can't turn around, not for a speaker. That doesn't make any sense. So I called the front desk, and I preempted them with this.
Yes, you did.
And then I called Drew, and I said, hey, can you please go and pick up my speaker and bring it to the lectureship? And he said, yeah, I can do that. So tell them what happened when you walked in to pick up the speaker for me.
I walked in, and the lady behind the desk, she was like, "Are you Krispy Kreme?" And I had to say yes.
Yeah, I told him don't give it to him if he refuses. He'll try to refuse. He'll say no. Don't give it to him until he admits it.
I said yes, I am.
So, ashamedly, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So speaking of Krispy Kreme, and then I want to hear some of your stories as well.
All right.
We were in Newport News, Virginia earlier this year, and I was going down. It was supposed to snow really bad, so we had ordered food to the hotel instead of going out, and possibly we had our kids. It'd be a whole hassle if it started snowing a lot. So the food had arrived, and for whatever reason, they weren't going to bring it up to the room. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I had to go down like a peasant, and I had to go down. Wow. I had to go down and pick up the food, though. As I get off the elevator, there is this man holding 2 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts, and I was like, boy, that just sounds like that would hit the spot. Krispy Kreme has always got great donuts, not a sponsor. And so I go and I get my food for the family, and I think I'm alone. And that is very important to this story. And for whatever reason, I decided to verbally go, I'm going to get some Krispy Kreme. I want that Krispy Kreme donuts. And I'm saying that over and over again for like 15 seconds. And then I feel a presence. And I turn, and there is this 11-year-old boy standing behind me looking mortified. And
rightfully so.
I'm pretty positive that it was that guy with the donuts' son. So if that's true, that kid had to have gone back up into his hotel room and say, Daddy, I think somebody's trying to steal our donuts.
Somebody's coming to get them. Lock the door, Daddy.
They want our Krispy Kreme donuts. So I had to tell that one with you on here.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's just a lot. Every now and then Drew and I will be together, and we'll bring up random songs at Froggy Fresh. Krispy Kreme sued him. I don't know if y'all know that part. He used to be called Krispy Kreme, and then Krispy Kreme came out and was like, no, you don't get to claim that. And so he changed his name to Froggy Fresh. And on the video of the lyrics we were reading, he just black bars his mouth. So you can't see him mouthing Krispy Kreme, and you hear him go, Froggy Fresh. So that always cracks me up, because even your wife has admitted that you look very similar to this guy. And I have gotten so many people at Scattered Abroad, like when we add a new person in, I'll play that video for them. And I'll go, did you know that Drew used to be a rapper?
He's converted.
Everyone always says, I never knew that. I have never had one person say that's not Drew Suttles.
Man. And
so take it away, man.
Never sent us to the same place, same time, huh?
That's right. I haven't, actually. Or have I?
So I am not that guy.
He is.
I can't top either one of those, but I've got some preaching things that have happened here recently.
That's what we're really supposed to do.
That's what, get this train back on the tracks here.
There was another rapper once.
Both have to do with water. All right. The first one was a few weeks ago. I'm sitting there studying, and I look outside, and I see a woman walk past the double doors. I didn't think nothing of it. Sometimes people walk by it. Then she walked back, and she did it a third time. I'm like, all right, she's pacing back and forth. She's looking for something. So I finally got out, and I opened the door. I said, ma'am, can I help you with something? She's like, I am looking for holy water. I can't find holy water anywhere.
The mafia is after me.
I really need to find some right now. I said, ma'am, I'm sorry to tell you this. We don't believe in that. I don't have any holy water. I don't have any water.
In that.
I said, we've got water here, but it's not special or holy.
Get that false doctrine out of here.
She was like, well, I've got a loved one at the hospital here, and I really need holy water. Can you get some water and come and sprinkle it on her and pray for her? And we really need that to happen. I said, ma'am, again, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I do not believe in that. I do not have any holy water. So she kind of just puts her head down and says, okay, I'll try somewhere else. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, you're not going to find it in Little Quitman, Maybe she did. But I texted one of my elders and told him, and he was like, next time that happens, just to remind you, we've got some on the second shelf in the pantry. So that's what I got to deal with there. The next one had a baptism a few weeks ago. Lady that had been baptized really young, didn't know what she was doing type deal. We studied through it. She says, well, I need to make sure I'm doing it for the right reason, you know. So great. Me and her husband. That's it. So I go ahead and I get in the water and I'm waiting. And she stands at the top of the steps and she's not coming in the water. And I said, you know, all things are ready. You know, here we go. And she said, I probably should have told you that I'm terrified of water. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced that before or not with baptism. That's a unique feel. I said, well, this is essential. You have to get in the water if you're going to contact the blood. And so she finally said, okay. She comes in and the water is ice cold, which makes it worse because she's already anxious and nervous. She walks in and I explained to her, you know, I'm going to take your confession. I'm going to baptize you and just have your hand up. I'll put my hand up. When she does that, she wraps her arm around my neck, almost choking me. She's scared to death. Like she's shaking. I was like, okay. I told her husband, I said, we're going to take care of this. Okay. I'm going to baptize her as quick as I can. I said, I'm taking you back to the left because we want to avoid the steps. And as soon as I start to go back, she grabs with everything she's got and she squeezes. So long story short, we both went down.
Yeah.
So if there was anything lacking on my first one, took care of it on that one. We both went all the way down and came back up. So that's something I'll always remember with the baptism. Here's my last one. And I debated on whether or not to tell this. Michael said it was okay. So, full disclosure.
I'm going to tell a worse one after this. So
Okay.
Don't worry. I mean,
I first started podcasting. This is probably like first season, maybe second season. And I haven't been equipment long.
was this still Thursdays with the text or was this?
No, this was Weathering the Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was Weathering the Storm. So I'm podcasting, and the way my office sits, I can look, you know, from here just a few feet, and we have double doors you can see through. You can't see through it from the outside, but I can see out of it. So sitting here recording, I've got the door closed. I have a window so I can see. And about the time I'm making a point, I look up and I see this woman standing there. I don't know how long she's been standing there. She's been there probably a hot minute. And instead of knocking, she just pulls on the door. And our double doors, now we have a key code. But before that, if you didn't close the door good and it had a little open, you could just open it. This woman opens the door and she just starts walking around the church building. And I'm in my office and I'm scared. I don't want to stop the podcast. I'm like, man, I'm almost done. I'm going to wrap it up real quick. So if you go back and listen to that, you might hear a little urgency in my voice there. I wrap it up and I close it and I get up real slow and I'm looking around and I look in the auditorium. I don't see her. I look down the hall. I don't see her. She went straight to the back where our baptistry room is, where the copier is in the fridge. She's just standing there in the dark. And so I'm like, we're just having a standoff for about,
man.
yeah,
Johnny's not here, Drew.
about 10 seconds standoff where nothing is said. And I finally said, ma'am, can I help you? She walked up and said, you have $5? I said, no, ma'am.
Absolutely. If you
yeah. I said, no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't have any cash on me at all. She said, okay. And then she walked out and she left. So the rest of that day, I'm just like looking out the window, like, what is happening right now? I kid you not, the next day, I'm recording again. I'm trying to knock out these episodes in a week. Another lady comes. This time, she don't just walk in the door, because I made sure the doors were locked. She's banging on the door. She said, he is coming after me. He's coming to get me. Please let me in. Please let me in. Over and over and over again. So, of course, now I'm like, well, I've got to open it. So, obviously, I'm not going to leave her out. I don't know what's happening.
You haven't watched many horror movies.
I also don't want to die. Yes, I have, unfortunately. That's my first thought. So, I open the door, and she just comes right in, beeline, and sits down in my office. And she's like, do you have a phone? Can I call it? I'm like, I don't know what to do right now. But, yes, I gave her the phone. And about 10 minutes later, there's a man, and I guess it was his daughter. Come to find out, it was her husband, daughter. And they came and they just said that, sorry about this. We're taking her back home right now. We're taking her back where she needs to be. Here's what happened. Both of those ladies, they didn't tell me this when I took the work equipment. Right across the street is a certain hospital.
Just say it.
Yeah, psychiatric place.
It's a mental institution.
It is.
Thank you.
I didn't know that, and no one felt the need to tell me that. So,
it's not a dirty word, man.
So apparently something had happened and a lot of the patients there had gotten out without their knowledge for a couple of days, just kind of roaming around. So equipment was right, the church building right there. So now it's a hotbed for my office. So I ran into the first lady, asked me for $5, and it was always the same thing. Do you have $5? Do you have $5? Thankfully, didn't see the other lady come
Only
in.
got $6. I'm sorry.
I told my elders, I said, why didn't y'all tell me
Yeah.
that that's what that was?
They knew you
And
wouldn't
let's
take the
fix this
job.
door now.
Let's fix
Yeah,
this door.
they knew you wouldn't
So
take the
now we
job.
have a keypad on the door and they stay locked. But that was, So there for a couple of weeks, I was pretty anxious podcasting. So if you go back and listen to that season, you'll hear
Yeah.
some anxiety in my voice.
Well, we've had some good moments in the last 2 years when I've come up to Quitman in December.
Yeah.
I'll tell the most recent one, and then I'll tell about the time I tried to prank Brittany, and it did not go well for me.
Yeah, let's do that.
You remember? I want to get from your perspective because I didn't realize what it was, but I was in the hospital in December of 24 with a complication due to Crohn's disease, and I didn't know this, but I had that when I came to Quitman.
Yeah.
And so I remember that week a certain type of way, but I feel like the first night I was there, it was pretty pitiful
Yeah.
because it was a playoff game, wasn't it?
Yes.
Or the Clemson was playing in the Big Ten
Yeah.
or ACC
something.
championship.
Yeah.
something, you know?
That's right.
And
It was.
I slept like the majority, which is not normal for me.
No.
So what did it look like to you was wrong with me? Because Wayne had to experience when it was like so bad I could barely walk.
Yeah.
But
It was weird because you walked in and my recliner is like right when you walk in the door, I've got it. And he just plopped in it, popped it back, and just laid back.
I fell asleep like
And
immediately.
was out. We were like, all the kids are in there. Everybody thought we were going to hang out with Michael.
I didn't even say hello.
No, he just popped in and he was out. And so I stayed up till the end of the game. And I'm like, Michael, he didn't see it. He was out like a lot. And he finally wakes up like at 1 a.m. He's like, all right, I need to go to the hotel. I'll see you tomorrow. And he was out.
And the next day I did a report on Scattered Abroad at Quitman. And I told Drew, I said, if I'm not feeling well enough after that's over, I'm going to go to urgent care because something's obviously wrong. Well, then I spoke and y'all had a potluck meal that day.
Yep.
And I went and ate some food and I didn't have any problems with the food I was eating. And so I went home that afternoon to the hotel and I laid on the couch with NFL Sunday Ticket going and I just slept the whole day too, which again, y'all know me well enough to know that's not very normal. I don't take naps usually.
Right.
I barely sleep in general anyways, but I never ended up going to the hospital or the urgent care because I thought, oh, I'm fine. Then we fast forward to December. Wayne and Bradley Smith drive into town and they are there to film What Would You Do If? And I'm like genuinely hobbling in, but convinced that I was going to be okay.
I'm going to be fine.
I just need to
gotta
get in the chair.
into the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he gets in the chair and he's like,
I'm not fine.
okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. And we recorded.
He's about to cry, man.
We
you can just see it in his face.
We recorded an entire 30-minute podcast, and I'm in there the whole time going. And so we go to lunch, and I couldn't reach for anything without it hurting.
Yeah. I guess, you were getting, I drove.
Yeah.
You were getting out. I'm like, dude, we got to just go, man. He's
Yeah.
like, well, let's just eat. And then we'll be fine. So he's like walking in the restaurant. He's like, dude.
Forgot his cane.
And so finally, I looked at him and said, suppose I did want to go to the hospital. Would you take me? And he was like, I'll take you right now. Yes.
I've said it all morning. I'll take you.
That had happened. I'd had that abscess. That's what it was, an internal abscess since November.
Yeah, it's insane.
And didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
It's a wonder I didn't die. On my way to you, I stopped at a Love's to fill up my truck. And I walked in and I was freezing because one of the things that you struggle with an abscess is you get really cold really fast. And so I was like shivering.
Oh,
and you know how I like to keep the AC.
Yeah.
It's AC all year round, 65 degrees or less. Some hotels, I figured out how to make it go into the 50s. Those are amazing.
Nice.
If you're watching this, though, no, I didn't. Okay. It only went to 65.
Would never do that.
No, I would never do that. But I like it cold usually. So when I'm freezing, it's because I'm sick. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
This is as much of a winter coat as I would wear throughout the year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ran into the Love's and bought the biggest hoodie they had and put it on and drove the rest of the way halfway where I was going. And the entire time, instead of being like, something's wrong, I'm like, I'll be all right.
Just need some sleep.
I just got to make it to the hotel and I'll be fine. And then I went there and I hibernated for like 2 days.
He was covered in a blanket all the way up to his neck in my
Yes.
recliner. He was like, you turn that fan off?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
The audacity of
You know
me.
something's wrong.
Go into someone's house and just be like, turn your fan off and no one talk to me. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I'm going to sit in your living room and go to sleep.
I should have just gone to the hotel, but I was like, no, I got to hang
Biggest
out with
game
Drew.
of the season. I watch it in silence.
Got to hang out with Drew. So Brittany and I have the same personality.
Yes.
Drew often says, I can't handle both of y'all together very long.
Nope.
Because we play off each other so well.
Yes.
And like she'll say something, I'll know the punchline. She'll do the same thing when I say something. So she works at a place called Lee and Pickles.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people would probably hear that and be like, oh, that's a restaurant. No.
Drugstore.
It's a drugstore. It's a pharmacy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We went there 2 years ago to see her. And I think we had to swap vehicles so you could pick up the kids.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to prank Brittany. I want to make Brittany feel uncomfortable. And I'm going to be able to do this. And she was the only one working the cash register at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking around this pharmacy and I'm like, what is the most embarrassing thing I could buy that I don't need that would make her feel embarrassed? Because when we walked in, she goes, hey, that's my husband and his friend. And they knew you.
Yeah.
So I'm walking and I'm looking and I see a UTI kit. And I'm like, okay, that's it. That's the one. Because that would be so weird to just be like, I need to buy this. Yeah. And the one that I saw was like $7 or something. And I was like, no, that one doesn't look very good. It looks a little, there's a bigger kit standing right next to it. And I was like, I'll get that one. Didn't see a price. And so I'm walking up and standing in line. And then I'm thinking, okay, I need to buy one other item that would make no sense to be buying if you have this UTI problem. And so I saw a can of Dr. Pepper. And I was like, I'm going to buy this can of Dr. Pepper with this kit. And Brittany's going to be like, you've got to be kidding me. Next in line goes up in front. The person in front of me goes up. And then something happens and Brittany gets called away. And this older woman then walks up to the next cash register and she goes, sir, I can take you over here. What do you say? And so my philosophy has always been like, I have to go through with this now. Yeah. It's already happened. Yeah. And so I put both those items on the top of the counter and she did kind of go, is this all? And I'm like, yeah, that'll be all. And she rung it up. She goes, okay, your total is $98.32. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? That UTI kit was $96. It was $96. I paid for it. Because I was so embarrassed. I was like, I have to do this. I have to see it through. And so I swiped my card and then Drew's like, what's wrong? And I told him, I was like, Drew, that was $98. And he's like, well, why did you buy it? And I was like, Drew, I felt bad. So then we have to call Brittany out of the store over to get the keys. And I said, Brittany, I need you to do something for me. And I explained, what I just said. And Brittany goes, yeah, we can definitely take care of that. I'll get the money refunded. And so she walked back in and I was like, I guess that kind of pranks her because she has to walk in and explain why this UTI kit's being returned.
Dr. Pepper.
But that did not go the way that I had hoped that it would. But that was a really funny day. I want to tell this one too with both of you because this happened to me last month. I've never been to Benihana before. Until this past month. And I'm going to give Adam a picture later that I'll let him show, as we tell this story when the appropriate time's there. But I had gone to set up a display somewhere. I'd set up the display. I had 4 hours to kill before the event started. And I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like going back to the hotel room right now. I'd rather just go eat somewhere, kill 2 hours, and then go back to the hotel room. So I was like, hibachi. Hibachi, if you go and eat at a hibachi place, it takes longer than 30 minutes to eat there. And a lot of times it's 2 hours. So I'll go there. I walk in and the lady at the front says, do you want to sit at the bar or at the grill? And I was like, well, the grill. I want to, experience the show. I didn't know what show I was going to get to experience though. I'm walked into this room. There's a mother and her daughter sitting where you are, Drew. There's an older lady sitting where you're at, Wayne, and I'm kind of sitting in the middle. And I come in and sit down. You obviously don't know these people at all because I'm from out of town, first of all. And then second of all, it's Benihana. Mm-hmm. As we're doing this though, the waiter comes in and he says, hey, welcome to Benihana. Anybody celebrating a special occasion? The mom and her daughter say, our birthdays are one day apart and we're here to celebrate that. Oh, that's so great. What will you have to drink? So they order their drinks. He looks at me, you celebrate anything special? And I said, no, not really. Just here, wanting some hibachi. And he says, okay, what would you like to drink? I told him. And then he turns to where you're sitting and he said, man, what would you like to drink? And she goes, 2 waters with lemon. And there was a little bit of a bite to it, but I didn't really understand. I was like, well, maybe she's just having a rough day. And then he turns to look at me again, and then it's like he caught himself going, oh, I didn't ask her how she's doing. So he turns back to her and says, and how are we doing today, ma'am? And she goes, just the 2 waters with lemon. I'm like, oh boy, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
And he says, absolutely, ma'am, I'll take care of that. I'll get it for you. And so he takes 2 straws out and he goes to hand them to her, and she won't take them from him. She goes, set them on the table. And I'm like, man.
Not good.
This is uncomfortable. So he says, I've got to leave. He leaves, walks out, and we don't know, but he's going to talk to the manager, being like, I can't serve this woman. She's being really rude. The mom that's celebrating her birthday gets up and walks out, and we don't know that she's doing this, but she's going to say, we can't sit with this woman because she's rude. So I look over, and behind where you would be seated, this woman, are 5 Benihana employees now pointing in my general direction. And it looks like they're pointing at me. And then one of them comes in and he says, sir, would you like to move? But I didn't hear him say it that way. I thought he said, sir, you need to move. And I was like, why do I have to? I didn't do anything wrong. Move her. And so I said, no, I'm fine. Well, then these 2 get up to leave. There's another couple that's coming in at the same time. And they're trying to sit down. And the Benihana worker goes, no, you're not going to sit in here. You're going to sit over there. And so then it looks like I have, out of, some type of solidarity with this person, been like, I'm going to take your side and be on your side. Yeah, you should have talked to that waiter that rudely. That was great. And I'm going to support you by staying here and eating with you, because everyone but us got up and left. So my drink then gets brought to me, and I was like, actually, I'm going to leave too. And so we get to the other table, and there are 2 more people now. So we've got a full 7 people at this Benihana table, and we trauma bonded over what that woman had done to us. We're all talking about our kids. We're talking about what we do for work and jobs. And they said, what are you here doing? And I was wearing one of those Memphis polos. And I said, well, I'm here for a conference. I'm a traveling minister. And they said, oh, if we had known that, we would have asked you to pray for her. I said, I was praying for her. I was praying that we wouldn't have to eat with her. Well, it gets to the end of the meal, and there were 3 birthdays in our party that were being celebrated. And so the waiter comes in and he goes, we have a tradition here at Benihana where we sing in Spanish, in English, and then in Japanese, happy birthday. And then after that, we'll take a photo of the birthday people, and you'll have a Benihana photo keepsake. The woman that was seated like over here in the new table goes, can it be of all 7 of us? And I said, and can I get a copy? Because I knew, I was like, we're going to, Dalton in a month, and I'll have a really good story to tell. So there's going to be a picture that comes up here around this time, unless Adam just trolls me, which he really could. When he puts this in the edit, that would be so funny if he just doesn't put anything on there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But there's a picture of me with my Benihana family, and they were all like, same time next year. And I was like, I'll actually be here for the same event. So we could do that. But it was a really good, funny moment and funny day. But here's what I wanted to end with. I know that you've got small children, Drew. I know you've got grandchildren, Wayne, and I want to read to you both. And I want to read this book and give you a chance to, maybe when you go home, you can let Piper watch the book that Michael read. This is a book called Let's Be Brave. Being brave is chasing after your dreams. Your heart may race, but does that slow you down? No way. Being brave is picking yourself back up. You may fall down once, twice, 3 times, but you always get up again. I don't know about that for Wayne, but you remember when you slipped on that ice?
There's stories.
Being brave is wanting to try new things. Your tummy may twist and turn, but your smile stays in place.
Nice.
Being brave is sharing your awesome talents. You may feel shy, but you're a star, so you'll shine brightly forever. Being brave is standing up for yourself. Others may be bigger, louder, or make you feel small, but they can never shrink your spirit. Truer words, Wayne. Being brave is staying true to yourself. You might not like the same things as everyone else, but it's okay to be different. Being brave is exploring new places. You might get lost from time to time, but it won't take you long to find your way back.
Wayne in Russia.
Being brave is jumping into the deep end. You may only want to dip your toe in, but you still got to take that giant leap. Being brave is trying to make new friends wherever you go. Your hands may tremble, but you still give a big, friendly wave. Being brave means all kinds of things to you and me, but most of all, it's never letting your fears hold you back. I just thought you guys could use some encouragement.
I'm so inspired
to be brave. I really value
donut, man.
I value all of you.
Killing me.
And I want you to be brave enough to eat this donut now.
I'm going to, man.
And for those that are at home, we'll be back next week with another episode. But right now, cheers.